having conversation with us then about what the heartbeat is. What is reverberating through Blantyre, through Lilongwe, through the many cities of the towns of Malawi now, as a new president has come in, and we've heard what he's had to say. Wisdom, welcome to the Situation Room this morning.
Thank you.
You're in the room this morning with myself, Ndoko, Eric Latif, and Siti Muga, and we're looking at the happenings in the country of Malawi with a new president. What does this mean?
It really means quite a lot to the people of Malawi, because you will have followed Malawi democracy since 1994. Quite a lot has been said about a number of expected development that never was. But apart from that, as you will have heard from the new president, the country had really for some time been divided along tribal lines, along regional lines. So the new government is coming with a renewed hope to the people of Malawi. Malawians are now hoping that they will see a Malawi that belongs to all of them. But that as well does bring to the new government a lot of pressure, because if you look at close to 60% of Malawians voted in the new government, that tells Dr. Chakwera that there is quite a lot of expectation, high expectations, that people are hoping for change in their lives, change in their family lives, change in national development. The national development agenda over time has really been kind of concentrated in areas where the leadership is coming from, and people are hoping that will not be the case this time around. But, if you follow the instance coming towards the election, it also brings in another dimension. That is that Malawians are now no longer the same people. They have awoken, and, if you followed the street demonstrations, the way, the court went on and on, it has taught people that if a government is not doing what it promised or what it ought to be doing or what I expect it to do, then I've got a right that I can go on the street and protest against the ills. And that is a huge challenge.
Well, Wisdom, can I ask you a question as you're going through that? Is that we talk about this awakening that the people of Malawi have had. Can this be seen very clearly by the fact that, a petition was made, an election result overturned, and then back to election, and they still voted in the opposition? Could you attribute this to some of the awakening that you allude to?
Exactly. But there is also one aspect that needs to be seen in context. The previous elections, we were voting using the first past the post system of elections, which meant the highest winner gets it all. And this is exactly what gave Mr. Mutharika the 38.5%, and that made him the president. But this time around, the fact that the court said we can only elect the president using the majority, and majority meaning 50% plus one, what it meant then was that a president needed to be elected by the bigger chunk of the people who have voted, which is exactly what was exemplified in the 2019 elections. Because the majority, over 50%, over 60, close to 60%, did not vote for the former president. And the same has repeated itself in the 50 plus one majority. The former president Mutharika got the same 58%. And the rest of those people that did not vote for him are the ones that have voted for Lazarus Chakwera. And the problem, if there weren't alliances, the 50 plus one could have been quite a struggle as well, and probably by now we could have been thinking of another rerun, which could have been quite a problem because the laws currently do not provide for the term. So yes, people are awakening. We saw quite a lot of people turning up to vote, and talking to people on the street, you could really hear the need for a change. Literally across the country, this was the first time that we've seen the opposition leader getting quite substantial votes from the government stronghold, from the ruling party stronghold, like in the eastern part of Malawi, in the southern parts of Malawi, where it has never happened before. In the president's home, Dr. Chakwera got about close to 17,000 votes, and that is unprecedented.
How many other times has the presidency been contested within your court system in Malawi?
For a number of times. In 1999, we saw late Gwanda Chakwamba protesting the election, but they lost in court. We also saw, I think, another protest around 2009. That also we lost. This time around, the triumph by the opposition in court could be attributed to the fact that there was, I think, better preparation of the case that they brought before the court, and the fact that there were two opposition giants contesting the case as a team. I think that also did bring in some little strength to the case that they brought before the court. And if you compare the cases before and the case this time around, there was one huge difference. The case this time around did not focus on the fact that the election was rigged. The case this time around focused on the fact that there were widespread irregularities. So that was much easier to prove than proving rigging.
They clearly borrowed from the last presidential petition in Kenya, which went the same route, challenging the process.
Exactly, that's much easier because if you look at most of the presidential elections across Africa, it is really the issue of flouting procedures, not following the law to the letter, than the actual vote stuffing, for example, and the other forms of rigging. I mean, flouting procedures is a form of rigging, but it's much easier.
It actually is the process by which rigging takes place.
Exactly. But it's much easier to prove than when you want to tell the court that the vote stuffing and such other types of rigging. Yeah.
Wisdom, let's speak about Dr. Chakwera now, the man himself who's now your new president. He has been the head of the Malawi Assemblies of God for many years, and then he got into politics. Earlier, you talked about the people getting to a point where they needed change and they wanted change. Do you think Dr. Chakwera is basically the main beneficiary of that wind of change coming and aligning with him, or has he worked towards this? I mean, when did he get into politics, and how has he run his politics so that you can say that he got to a point he could dislodge a sitting president?
He got into politics in 2014. I think that's the first time he contested after the former head of the Malawi Congress Party retired from active politics. Honorable John Tembo, a long time politician. That time he was quite a surprise to see such a reverend man of the public jumping onto active politics. But if you look at his leadership style over the years, leading the Assemblies of God through a number of stages, quite a back of the Malawi Congress Party trusted that this could be someone who's going to bring a different flair to political leadership. Getting into the 2014 elections, yes, he lost, and that could come back to attributed to the type of elections that the type of election that we're using, the first past the post. But going forward, in 2019, we saw a different person from the one that we started with in 2014. He had now put on a stronger political gloves, but he was able, to battle on the streets during the campaign, and you could see a politician now speaking than a pulpit person. Nonetheless, the pulpit in him still influences the way he talks to multitude, the way he gives hope to the multitude, and that's I think one thing that really has given people the trust that this probably could be a different person. But that we should not also subtract the influence that came with the person that he paired with, the Vice President, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera. He is quite a strong person on the street campaign. He comes from a long experience of being a marketer, and not just a marketer of any other type. He's a marketer that's really revered in this country, and that had quite saw a lot of change in the way Dr. Chakwera campaigned this time around as compared to 2014, but also Dr. Chakwera has brought a totally different flair to political campaigning in Malawi. And that really branded Dr. Chakwera as a different person from the rest.
I get a sense, Wisdom, that it's as if the people of Malawi had gotten tired of the old politicians and they wanted something different. So when they have this person who, while they trust him from the pulpit and he hasn't had a long time operating in politics, he felt like a safer pair of hands. They wanted a change. It's like make Malawi great again.
A lot of people definitely needed change. And I'll tell you one thing that was completely new during this particular election. We saw a lot of professionals, like employed people, leaving their offices to volunteer as party monitors, just to take the vote. And that really did tell Malawians, did tell the world that the majority of the people in Malawi really wanted change and were tired with all type of politicians and all type of politics. And they are looking forward, they are looking at this particular person with rare hope that probably we will now see a Malawi that is for everybody, and not a Malawi that was typically belonged to just a few elites.
Is he the panacea for all of this? Is he the answer? Even in his what would be an acceptance speech, Dr. Chakwera said himself that it was time to get rid of this rot that had eaten into the very fiber of the Malawian society and governance. Is he the answer? Even if the people of Malawi needed a change, even if the region needed a change, is he the answer to this question that has been lingering for years?
As a person, we could look at him, people could look at him as the answer, but he will only become that answer if he really work on changing the systems. The systems of government in this country really require a lot of overhauling if Malawi is to realize a difference that they have promised. Nonetheless, so far, if you look at their manifesto, their combined manifestos, looking at the alliance partners, looking at the caliber of the person he is, there is hope that he is the promised Messiah, if anything.
What are these changes that he promised, and what is it that people expect? What monumental change do they expect to see out of the leadership of Dr. Chakwera?
The biggest thing that I think two huge expectations that are in people's minds. The first thing is that development must be shared equally, across the country. The northern region, for example, have been neglected for so long, and the people in the north are very bitter when you talk to them about the former leadership. And that is something that the people in the north will be waiting for. And they gave Chakwera a lot of votes. You know, you're talking of over 600,000 as compared to about 200 for the former president. That is something that tells him that the people in the northern region, for example, are looking up to him as somebody who is going to be a unifying factor. But the second thing is the fact that this country has really lost quite a lot to corruption, and they have promised that that is a priority. So being a priority, it will mean a need to change a number of things. How we do business in the public service, how we do business with parastatals, how politicians influence technocrats doing certain things. That is the key. And we have seen that probably he's already taking that path, because he just yesterday he appointed his vice president to the position of Minister responsible for economic development and the public service reforms. The public service reforms are some of the topics that Dr. Chilima already had started when he was vice president to Professor Mtarika from 2014, and his removal at some point did affect the progress in that respect, and we were already hoping that he's going to pick up from where he left and push that forward. And then there were two other promises that the Chakwera campaign made in the course of in the run-up to the June 23 election. That is the ensuring that agriculture comes back to what it used to be in this country. So they are promised to reduce the price of fertilizer from around 20,000 likewise at about 4,900, and that's quite monumental if it happens. And apart from that, there is a lot of graduates coming out of college in this country. A lot of the youth graduating from secondary schools need work in this country. And they promised to create at least 1 million jobs within the first 2, 3, 4 months. And that people are looking up to. And we're hoping that can materialize. Of course, I mean, we understand that the job creation in their meaning, it does not necessarily mean that they will create 1 million jobs across the hill. But we're hoping that it means creating an environment where my brother in the village will be able to access something to do.
It's something that everybody's hearing. The religious aspect cannot be taken away from this particular president, and that is something that he has ridden on already, and we know that is something that he has invited also into his administration. Is it something that the people of Malawi are picking up on to say that perhaps with a religious entrant, it could see and it also could contribute to whatever change is being sought?
Exactly. The challenge, I mean, like everywhere else, has always been the people that surround the president, and then the people that want to benefit out of being close to the president, and their henchmen, and it is the people who hope that Dr. Chakwera will be able to tell his relations, for example, that I'm not the president for my family alone, but I'm the president of Malawi, and that he will be able to tell his political colleagues in the Malawi Congress Party and the alliance partners that we did not campaign to win for purposes of enriching our pockets only, because that is exactly what people have been against all along. You know, over the 26 years of democracy, a lot of people have been angry with the fact that it's been a few families enriching themselves, a few families and their friends, changing. Somebody's appointed as a minister today. He was driving a small little Corolla from nowhere. He's building mansions, and everybody is wondering how can he afford that from his salary and allowances.
Which are these families, Wisdom? Which are these families? When you talk about these dynastic families in Malawi, which families are these?
Well, I mean, the two families that everybody will tell you is the family of the the first democratic president, Dr. Muzi, and his friends. And then when we moved to the new wave after Muzi, so the Mutharika family, his brother, and now him, the recent past, and their family and their friends. Literally, you look at the who is who of Malawi. Everybody points just to them and their henchmen, and that's what really has angered people over a long period. You've seen people who could not. I mean, some of them, yes, I know doing business does not necessarily always mean you must go to school, but you see people who were literally on the street and overnight they are billionaires.
They're billionaires.
And that's something that has really not gone down well with the majority of the country.
When you talk about now, like the Mutharika family, I think going back into Bingwa Mutharika and his food security policies, what went wrong? At some point, he was being praised across Africa as the man who had ensured that Malawi had a surplus production of maize. In fact, coming from a point where you were begging to a point where you were donating food to other countries. What went south?
What went wrong was so simple. Okay, so we were giving, the government has been giving fertilizer or farm input subsidies to families. But you will see that it has been the same families over and over and over again. So people were not graduating from this, system. And there's been a call over a period of time for the country to change from targeted subsidy to kind of universal subsidy, so that commercial farmers could then get in as well and produce surplus, as it were. Well, that's exactly how, during the Kamizbanda, that's exactly how this country managed to be, to have surplus almost year in, year out. And over the years now, the challenge has been, we are providing subsidy, but who is the ultimate beneficiary? So apart from my grandmother in the village receiving a half bag of fertilizer, or sometimes it reached a point where 2-3 families needed to share one bag of fertilizer.
Oh my goodness!
Because you see, so apart from just my grandmother benefiting from such a policy, it was politicians and their business friends who were benefiting more. Those were the ones that were getting the contract to supply fertilizer, contract to bring in trucks that are going to distribute the fertilizer and other. Yeah. So all the years, the subsidy which has really been increasing in terms of budget allocation has been benefiting politicians other than the people that it was intended for. So that's where we miss the mark. But if you compare the same budget that has been going to the subsidy, like you're talking of 80 billion Malawi Kwacha, if you took the same into irrigation farming and give that to commercial farmers, this country would not have any food deficit at all, because we have enough water bodies, for example, that we can be able to produce 2-3 times across the year. But we still over dependent on rain-fed agriculture, which is largely beneficial to small-scale subsistence farmers, and those cannot produce enough food for the entire country. Because not everybody must be a farmer for the country to be food sufficient.
Yep.
You need to have farmers who are capable of producing enough for the entire nation.
It'll be interesting to see how things unfold in Malawi in the coming months and coming years of this particular presidency. Wisdom Chakwera, thank you so much for speaking with us in the Situation Room this morning and for sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wisdom. Have a good day.
Welcome back.